Okay, good afternoon, class. So this afternoon we're going to talk about aerobic exercise aerobic exercise training in cardiopulmonary patient. So how we're going to do this and what are the pros and cons when we do this exercise with our patients suffering from cardiovascular and pulmonary conditions. Okay, so these are the health benefits uh, of patient uh, doing regular physical activity and exercise training. So basically, it's all positive. But when you do this exercise, you need to also to monitor your patients. No, it's not because it gives you a positive effect to your patient. You'll just leave your patient do this exercise without monitoring them. So it's very important to monitor them while doing their exercise. Uh, So these are the benefits. You can see there, you have reduced cardiovascular risk factors. Now these risk factors are the modifiable ones. So that includes your hypertension, this lipidemias or decrease of your cholesterol level, no? Your low density lipoprotein or cholesterol rather, triglyceride. You have also reduces your excess body fat, intra-abdominal fat, or your the size of your omentum decreases, or these are your visceral fats, which is very difficult to decrease. No, but through aerobic exercise, you can burn these fats. Of course, it takes a while. Then you have your insulin resistance, glucose intolerance. So it has a positive effect also to your uh, patient who have diabetes, who no longer um, who cannot tolerate insulin, no? So and also glucose intolerance. So if they have uh, their glucose level is above normal, no? Then type 2 diabetes, which is the acquired, no, diabetes. Then of course, blood platelet acids and aggregations are also decreased. Also, your blood becomes more thin rather than thick, which results to increase in hypertension. No? So exercise could be also a natural blood thinner. Then you have your sedentary lifestyle. Of course, it decreases your sedentary lifestyle. Then you have your reduces risk of developing cerebrovascular diseases, uh, such as hypertension, coronary artery disease, stroke, peripheral artery disease, obesity, type 2 DM, okay, osteoporosis, and certain cancers, specifically colon. Because when you do aerobic exercise, your body mobility also increases your gastromotility. Then you have your primary prevention of of course, basically premature death, no? In any cause. So if you do your exercise, you increase your longevity, morbidity and mortality secondary to CVD and uh, diabetes type 2, osteoporosis or fracture, colon cancer. So it reduces. At the same time, there are things that improves. Of course, level of endurance and strength increases. So if you observe, if you are doing your exercise regularly, when you go on walking, well, your endurance with that and your energy increases, and you could not be easily fatigued. Respiratory efficiency. So which means to say that your BO2 max and your oxygen uptake increases. muscle strength, your sleep quality improve, even your quality of life. So there are a lot of things that is reduced and a lot of things also that is improved. So those things that is reduced, those are the negative factors or factors that could result to uh, mortality and morbidity. And the things that improves are the things that improves your everyday functions. Okay. Now let's go to. Okay. So aerobics exercise is essential, no, in PT treatment or to include it in PT treatment plan. Uh, Especially those who are not engaged in any activity. So, notably, such training facilitate the other components of the physical therapy program. Effective training programs generally incorporate one or more modes of exercise performed at the appropriate duration, intensity, frequency for each individual. So, when you say um, one or more modes, or so it depends, no? So, what are the modes? It could be high, moderate intensity, or it could be interval training, or it could be a circuit training. Okay, so classically, this has consisted of exercise involving the large muscle groups of the body, which is sustained continuously for at least 20 to 30 minutes at sufficient intensity to stress the cardiovascular system and perform at least 3 days a week. So that's the basic, that's the least frequency of aerobic exercise per week, at least 3 days per week in order for us to have those benefits. So if we do only one, usually we could observe that no, in doing Zumba. So how many times do you do Zumba? At least once a week. We thought that it is already okay. But no, if in order for you to maintain the level of functions that you have now or improve it further, you need at least 3 times per week of Zumba. Once is not enough. Okay. Recommendations for physical activity and public health by the American College of Sports Medicine or ACSM and the American Heart Association now advise higher exercise doses in order to optimize the health related benefits, including reduced risk of chronic diseases, premature mortality, functional limitations, and disability. So here, the ECSM and the AHA give us or and advise us if we want to optimize our health related benefits secondary to aerobics exercise, we must increase the dose of our physical activity. So here in healthy adult ages 18 to 65 years old, actually in WHO it is 18 to 60, no, classification, but this is based on ACSM. Okay. So healthy adult ages 18 to 65 years old should perform a minimum of 30 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic physical activity performed at least 5 days per week or a minimum of 20 minutes of vigorous intensity aerobic activity performed at least 3 days per week or a combination of the two. So you see, if you do a 30 minutes moderate intensity exercise, then you are encouraged to do it 5 times a day or 5 times a week rather, which is equivalent to 150 minutes per week. Now, is it difficult to do a moderate intensity of exercise? It is hard? Of course not. No, it will not interfere your daily functions because all you have to do is to do it in 30 minutes. And if you want to do it in a more shorter time, then you do vigorous intensity exercise if you are a normal individual, which only asks you of 20 minutes per day for how much? 3 days a week. So physical activity is classified as moderate intensity if it is estimated energy expenditure of 3 to 6 minutes. 1 minute is the amount of metabolic that is considered as metabolic equivalent, no? The amount of energy the body uses at rest per kilogram of body weight per minute. No, approximately 3.5 ml of O2 per kilogram per minute, or the exercise heart rate is about 60 to 76% of the predicted maximal heart rate or heart rate max. Example of that is brisk walking. So here 3 to 6 minutes. That is around that is considered moderate intensity. So 3 to 6 minutes. So basically walking, uh, ano pa, going up and down at least two flight of stairs, no? Two flight of stairs. So that is equivalent to 3 to 6 minutes. Vigorous intensity is defined as more than 6 minutes or at least 77% of heart rate max. Example of that is jogging and running. So doing tennis, it's a mix. It's a moderate and vigorous. If you do tennis, because from time to time you stand, then you run to chase the ball, then you stand again to serve or to wait for the ball to return. So especially if the game is double, then it is a mix. No? So of course, it would take a little bit longer to complete or to satisfy your requirement, no, for that. So the duration of moderate intensity activity can be divided into multiple intervals of at least 10 minutes that total at least 30 minutes per day. So let's take for example, aerobic exercise can be summative. So if you cannot do a straight of 30 minutes, then you can divide it, no? Maybe 15 minutes this morning, then 15 minutes in the afternoon. Still, that it will be counted as 30 minutes per day. Or you can do it 10 minutes, then another 10 minutes at noon, another 10 minutes in the evening. So see, we don't have any excuses that we can't do this moderate or vigorous intensity exercise. Addition to routine activities of daily living of light intensity, self-care, cooking, casual walking, or shopping, or at least or lasting less than 10 minutes in duration, walking around the home or office or walking from the parking lot. So you see, our daily chores, panglaba, panghugas plato, self-care, padira, shopping, these are considered as light intensity. So according to our discussion, according to this, it says that we do these routine activities should be added with moderate intensity activities. So it's not that it's okay now that I'm washing clothes, it's okay now that I can. So no, that's only light intensity, moderate exercise. So we need to add more to that. As the premise in the start says that if you want to have in optimal benefits, you need to have a higher doses of physical activity. Older person, which is ages 65 years and above, and adult age 50 to 64 with clinically significant chronic conditions or functional mutations that affect movement ability, fitness, or physical activity follows similar conditions as other adults. Thus, for some adults, a moderate intensity walk translates into slow walk, whereas for others it might be brisk walk. So you see, the intensity depends on the age or depends on the conditions where the patients we have are now. So it might be that the moderate intensity for me might be already a vigorous intensity for the others, or maybe my light intensity would be already moderate for the others. So that's why aerobic exercise needs to be tailored depending on the conditions of your patients. So it is not a one-stop shop, no? So that's why people who are joining aerobic exercise would say, oh, nag-apil-apil ako ana, but wala man ko nagniwang, wala man ko nag-slim, wala na ko katuig, wala man ko ikuan. Because maybe that the exercise that is being given in that exercise or in that activity is not suited for you because it is not tailored for you. It is generic. So if you want to have the benefits, a greater benefits, it's not be tailored only for you. So you need to see somebody who will design your program. That's why we have what we call special trainer, no? Or fitness trainer or physical therapist. So Nana. Recommendations for resistance exercise, flexibility activities, and balance training are also offered. So for especially for patients with chronic conditions, for elderly patients with chronic conditions, they need all not only to be trained in aerobic exercise, but they need also to be trained in their balance, flexibility, and resistance because you need to maintain their strength, their balance, and their elasticity or flexibility of their body. So, this is the effects of resistance and aerobic exercise training on health and disease risk measures. So we can see here the result of aerobic and resistance exercise in terms of strength. So of course, aerobic exercise, although it affects our strength, but basically it targets the endurance. So here, you can see here, when it comes to strength, ang aerobic is only flat lang, maintenance. It is good for maintenance of strength. But in increasing strength, then you need to do resistance exercise. So here, about effects of your insulin, metabolism of your insulin, of course, both could decrease the glucose, no? So, naadra ang mga effect niya. Blood pressure, systolic, nakita ninyo, aerobic exercise, it could decrease your systolic, but with resistance, it just maintain. Ha? So, nga maintain raman. In fact, gani, mataas pa gano siya sa resistance at the start because you are exerting effort. When you exert effort, your muscles demand for more oxygen, so therefore blood needs to be transferred there. So what happens? Your heart will pump more. So what happens to your blood pressure? It will increase. Okay. So your plateau or your status quo BP will be only attained after the exercise. So that's why in order for us to have a lower BP, we need to do aerobic exercise, which requires us to do the activity in prolonged period of time with less resistance. Diastolic there na pa, no? Blood pressure during exertion, aerobic exercise. So, nano siya. So, during exertion, no, mga BP na to dira. Body compositions, basal metabolism, so the increases. So, if you want to burn more fats, you do aerobic. But if you have to burn more and more, then you have to do resistance exercise. So that's why in creating program, especially for obese patients, we need to do alternate training, no? For a circuit training, you have here a burst of activity with less resistance, that is aerobic. Then you need to transfer again to another exercise with more resistance. Okay, because you're targeting to increase the metabolism of the patient. So i-mix nimo imong exercise program, no, na kay in one circuit na kay aerobic lang siya, then naa kay portion nga na kay resistance, no, sa inana, in order for you to attain a greater basal metabolism, in order for you to your obese patient to burn more calories, no? Okay, so inana siya. So these are the effects of resistance and aerobic exercise training on health and disease risk measures. Aerobic exercise prescription. So how do we prescribe aerobic exercise? So we start with the mode, no? So mode, dani siya guidelines na to diri for components of endurance exercise. So you have your mode, any activity involving large muscle group for aerobic exercise, it should be the large muscle group. So basically, when you do that, it involves what? The legs, the lower extremity, and the trunk. And maybe the proximal muscle of the shoulders with less on the hands. Because those are the large muscle group. Diba? So that's why uh, mas nindot siya kuan, no? So kung magamit lang sa upper, so it's more on specific na siya resistance training. So intensity depend on the fitness level, so health status and goals of program as well as clearance of the doctors. So for healthy sedentary to active individuals, intensity is commonly based on percentage of age predicted um, or true maximal heart rate, with the percentage being determined by the individual exercise tolerance. So maximal heart rate. So we have the formula that no on how to measure the heart rate maximum. So you have there the intensity. So it could be light, moderate, and vigorous. But again, it should be based on the capacity of your patient, not in your own capacity. Duration depends on the individual level of fitness initially, then the intensity. So depende siya, no? Ang iyang kadugayon, depende siya sa level of fitness sa imong patient and at the same time sa intensity. So kung vigorous, pila siya 20 minutes. Kung moderate, 30 max. Ang vigorous, maximum siya 20. Sa fitness level niya, kung sedentary gid siya, then it could be less than that, no? So you have there for very deconditioned individuals, start with short intervals according to tolerance with brief 1 to 2 minutes rest. So you see, grabe gid siya ka-sedentary, 1 to 2 minute ang rest every exercise. Maybe the exercise would only last for 30 seconds, ang isa ka set, or 45 seconds more. Then the rest would be 1 to 2 minutes. Kung ana is to for your patients to have a good recovery time. No? Then, para maka-continue siya. Kay kung dili nimo siya anaon, pali niya di siya ka-continue noon. So, instead nga makapadayon siya exercise, dili na lang. Okay? 1 to 2 pa lang, 1 and 2 exercises pa lang, give up na siya. No? So, ina na. So, goal should be at least 30 minutes of total combined exercise time at a moderate. So, nana siya dira, no? Frequency depends on the duration and intensity. If continuous exercise duration is less than 15 to 20 minutes, frequency should be 2 to 3 times per day. So, kung ubos siya sa 15, 10 minutes lang, so pwede siya himo nimong katulo. Kung ang duration nimo is greater than 20, then you can do it once daily. And of course, every 3 days or 5 days a week. So, ina na siya. So the most commonly used modes of aerobic exercise include walking or jogging, which falls on the moderate and vigorous, no? Bicycling, swimming, aerobics, dancing, skating, cross-country skiing, star steeping, and elliptical training and drawing machines. So these are machine-assisted, no, na mga exercises. For the acute patient or inpatient, ambulating around the nursing unit. So, not necessarily nga kung acute, bedside lang yun. No? So, you can do also ambulation exercise, but within the room lang. So, that is considered as inpatient for cardiopulmonary patient or cardiac patient. Kung makatolerate man niya. So pwede po ganun siya mag-bicycle, treadmill. So anyway, naaraman siya sa hospital, so you can easily transport him in the area, no, then monitor the vitals of that patient. So you can provide aerobic component of an exercise program using an elastic band for upper and lower exercise can provide strengthening component. So, ana siya. Mag-aerobic kaniya, tagaan mo siya stationary bike for aerobic exercise with less resistance. So, addition mo tong resistance nga kung sa aerobic sa ergometer nimo, then can also provide strengthening using TheraBand and pwede po mga dumbbells, no? Na gagmay. Okay. For outpatients, participants in outpatient cardio or pulmonary rehabilitation program usually have an opportunity to work out using several different exercises modes in an interval fashion. Typically, this program include walking, jogging, stationary cycling, and rowing machines. So, why different modes of exercise ang gihatag nimo sa patient kung outpatient na siya to avoid boredsome, no? Di siya ma-bored. Kay kung sige-sige lang na siya, maura na nga exercise ang imo, walay variation kang ihatag, siyempre ang pasyente ma-bored na siya. Maura gyapon sige squat, maura gyapon oy sige march in place, wala na ilain. So you need to vary your activity with your patients. As long as the patient tolerates it and it is within the boundaries the of the uh, of the mode of exercise that you're given. No? Siya dito sa moderate yapon siya o nagyapon siya sa light. No? So resistance training to improve musculoskeletal strength and endurance may use calisthenics, hand weights, or elastic bands. Such variety enhances patient motivation and minimizes the potential for injury. So defining a practical yet enjoyable mode is most challenging task when working with clients who are exercising independently at home. So mao gina siya ang problema nato kung ana siya sa balay kay bisan kita nga normal individual, it's very hard for us to be motivated to do exercise, how much more sa atong patient no nga nay problema. So walking or jogging is the simplest as far as equipment requirements are concerned but can pose problems in patients with joint disease and those living in unsafe neighborhoods. So pwede siya walking and jogging, ang problema lang kung nasa yung mga joint disease. So, kung nasa joint disease, hindi siya ka-jogging. So, what mode of exercise? Then you do apply hydrotherapy. So, pwede siya swimming or pwede siya nga, dito lang siya sa tubig, no? Pwede siya mag-practice of walking sa tubig. Or pwede maghimo siya stationary bike, no? Dito siya. Kay low impact aerobic exercise ang imihatag niya. Jogging, pero lagi nga jogging niya, daghang kay highway. So, unsafe kay para sa iya or dagang kay iro. So, unsafe para sa iya. Ano man, inigda ko lang dira, gukdo nag-iro imong pasyente, di na ba na budagan. So, isod, no? So, kanay, katong area nga safe. Oh, wala kay siya kenan, wala yung mga iro. O, so, in a compound, pwede na siya. Sa tennis court, pwede, no? Ana, or sa oval, sa mga stadium, so pwede na siya. No? Dito siya mag-exercise or sa gym, pwede. Or sa rehab mismo. No? Siya ang balay. So I have one experience with that, no? Na makarelate ko ng angigupon sa ero. I have a sister before nga na epilepsy. So ang iyang epilepsy is nag-dormant siya for 6 years. Wala siya gi-atake. And then, gisugo siya sa akong naka-epilepsy siya kaya nahulog siya sa hagdanan, naka-TBI siya, din wala gi-report sa akong sister at that time, no nga nahulog din siya sa hagdanan. So, wala ma-check ang ulo, so naka-brain damage siya. So, nagdako siya nga paralyze ang pikas nga side sa iyang body, which is the right side. So, no, wala na siya. So, After ni abot siya ihang ihang sani adolescent stage, wala na siya gi-atake sa iyahang epilepsy. So one time kaya siyempre normal naman siya ano, makalakaw na siya. Although paralytic lang medyo na siya flexor sa energy sa upper, right upper din. Ang lower niya is dili din siya kaayo, medyo kuan siya makalakaw pero naa siya gamay nga na hip hiking maglakaw no, sa right side. So gisugo siya magkuan og baro og rice no, sa silingan. Ya, ang silingan na pinakaduol dito sa mua kay sa among lugar. It's about a kilometer away from our house. So, ato siya ato, ulo siya bugas. Pagbauli na niya, nakaagi siya tong balay, nga dula tong English na bugas. Gi pagukod siya sa iro kay katong nagpagukod niya is also an MI no, MR, mentally retarded no, kanang siya Down syndrome. Kuan siya kanang uh, sa gani na siya nga sa kuan no. Basta kay kuan, basta it's a syndrome but it's not down. Uh, Nakalimot ko kung saan na siya pag-describe o wa na ko na siya ma-classify the condition. So basta kay it's genetic no, na medyo sobrahan siya og I don't know what chromosomes what maybe. So gipagukod siya to sa iro no. Di man pud nimo makanto kay mentally retarded man. Although normal lang akong ate, mara siya na siya paralysis. So dagan siya na ba, mas siya maapsan sa iro. Pero pag abot sa balay grabe yung heart. Pagkagabian na si tukar balik ihang epilepsy. So inana no. So lisod sa mga patients ka na conditions nga pahimo nimo sila sa exercise and they are in the unsafe neighborhood or uh, na ay mga kwan nila no, may mga factors that would affect their activity. In addition, environmental factors such as extreme weathers or poor or air quality or living in a hilly community may present complications. So lisod na siya ng mga inana. Bantayanan na to. So ilang balay, siguro na to siya mag-walking pero yung balay naman sa ubos sa Tihol, tunga sa Tihol, unsaon na lang. So it could be a threat. Thus, it is advisable to investigate facilities in the community with controlled environments such as shopping malls that open their doors early, which may be available as alternative walking sites. So, so it's very important to visit the home of our patient and evaluate it and where they can do their exercise when they are at home or areas no, where they can do their exercise. So, ano siya. The exercise intensity that has traditionally been recommended on the basis of research documenting fitness increments is 65% to 80% of heart rate max, which corresponds to 50 to 70% of maximal oxygen consumption or VO2 max. Heart rate max is determined either by performance of maximal exercises stress test or calculation based on age. So, sayon lang yun, no? Heart rate max times 1/4 to 20 age. So, ano na? So, ina na siya. So, this is the formula now for your heart rate maximum. So, you have your 208. So, that's a constant minus, if you have your patient age, what is your patient age? I'll say 55. So, 55 times 0.7 minus 208, that is your uh, heart rate maximum. So, let's take for example, 55. No? So, okay, 55 times zero point 0.7, that is 0.7 minus 208, that is 208. 208 times 0.7 minus 208, that is your heart rate maximum. So let's take for example 55 times 0.7, that is 55 times 0.7, that is 0.7 minus 208, 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 that is 0.7 minus 38. So minus 208. So 169 over 70, muna siya imong heart rate maximum. So when you say maximum, muna siya allowable nimo pero pag abot ana niya nga time, medyo maglison na gid ka. So you focus it on your target heart rate. Okay, so muna siya, no? So target heart rate, dira na siya ka magbase, no? Kung unsa ang kwan. So dapat siya within that range. Dili na ka maabot atong 169. Okay? So yan ang formula niya. So your uh, maximum heart rate minus resting heart rate in percent. So kung pila ka percent, so 60 to 70 or 60 to 80 mo to siya bracket yun, no? Sa nga allowed ta, no? So you have there plus resting heart rate. Mo na siya imong target heart rate. Subot pa sabot, if you want to do an exercise, aerobic exercise, your heart rate must be in that area lang. No? Dira ra gid siya taman. Di na siya mosobra. Kung mosobra man gid siya, dapat didto ra gid siya taman pod sa maximal heart rate. It will not go beyond that. Okay, kung ana na siya base mat sudden death na siya. No? So ina ni classification of physical activity relative to intensity. So very light na sa dira. VO2 max nimo is about 20. If you have a maximal heart rate of less than 50, RPE animo, this is perceive exertion, no? RPE nimo. Is Borg, no? Perceive exertion. Borg rating perceive exertion. Siya about 10 or less than 10. So very light lagi na siya. So kung light, 20 to 39 ang VO2 max, ang maximum heart rate is about 50 to 63. So RPE nimo dito is about 10 to 11. Moderate, so tanaw na to asa ang moderate na fall. 60 to 76 ang percentage, no? So mo na siya imong gamiton. 64 to 76%. So na siya. Kani siya imong gamiton class, no? Dito sa formula nimo sa kani. Diri siya ibutang, no? Kani diri siya ibutang katong fan. So magpili lang ka. So if it is mao pay pagsulod niya, then you use the lower limit which is 64. But if it is already kapila na mo magpansin, you can do now go to the upper limit which is 77. So inana siya. We can use also this one, maximal heart rates in training zones using a lower level of 70% and upper level of 85%. So here, makita nato, no? So kung ang atong pasyente na edad nga 60, okay, here 60 years of age or 50, mo ni iyang target heart rate sa 70% nga threshold, it's about 121. So kung mag-training siya, ang iyang heart rate should be within the zone 121 and 147, 55% level. So dira ra gyud siya dapat dili siya magsubra. Kay kung magsubra na siya, diri siya maabot sa maximal heart rate. So delikado ni siya diri dapit niya zone. So base niya di siya maglisod siya recover. Mag-go beyond niya siya, that's already fatal for him. No? So bantayan na. So let's take for example, nag-edad ka, let's take for example sa 46. So I'm here in this area. So my target heart rate is here, no? 121 to 141. But when I do exercise, I observe it dito sa treadmill. Maggunit ko dito para sa pulse reading na ako dire ako mabot sa lower limit, din ako magabot dito sa training zone nga dire. Wa ko gaabot night time sa maabot ko 139 pero di na ako magabot sa 147. So inana ra. Pantayanan, no? So, ana. So, if you measure now your target heart rate of your patient, kabalo nakako naa sa kadapit, no? So, pag sugod pa lang nga daan ninyo, ang iyang heart rate is already above your target, then that's dangerous, means nag-increase na siya ang iyang heart rate. Already beyond sa imong limit. So, much better to take rest for a while. And maybe you ask him to you investigate kung nakainom ba siya sa iyang tambal or wala. So it might be nalimtan niya or might be under stress siya, no? So you investigate it before giving or proceeding to the exercise. Iparest sa then investigaron. Kung okay na, nag-decrease siya upon resting, then exercise na mo. No? Resistance exercise training. So, dito na sa resistance, has greater effect on muscular strength and endurance, fat-free body mass, and physical function, and for maintaining bone mineral density. So, nindot yun siya kung na resistance training. These benefits are particularly important for the older individuals, those with COPD, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, congestive heart failure, metabolic syndrome, diabetes, chronic kidney disease, as well as individuals who are overweight or obese. So, importante yun, no? Ang resistance training. So, that's why gina-advise nga after sa moderate intensity nga aerobic exercise, ang remaining 2 days, di ba 3 days man to, no? 30 minutes for per week, no? So, para kuhanin mo siya per day, rather. So, instead nga, imo na siya per day, 5 days a week. So, 5 days raga pa rin exercise, pero imong himuon moderate resistance, moderate resistance, moderate. No? So, inana nga exercise. Ang duration, nimo, pwede ra gyapon siya tag 30-30 para makuha nimong 5 days a week. Inana siya. So, resistance training using weight-bearing, calisthenics, hand weights, elastic bands, commercial exercise machines should be performed through full range of motions for maximal benefit. Muscle strength and endurance are developed by progressive overload, increasing resistance, number of repetitions, or frequency. So, observe progressive overload. As well, progressive overload could be increasing the resistance or increasing the frequency or increasing the intensity. So, inana siya. Pwede ka mag-progressive overload. If you want to develop endurance, then number of repetitions. If you want to develop strength, more of strength, then you can do increase or add weights or add resistance to the weights nga gigamit niya. So, instead nga body weight lang, buti, butanganin mo siya og dumbbells. So, ayun. So, muscle strength and endurance are developed by progressive overloading, increasing resistance, number of repetition, and frequency. So, muscle strength is increased best by using heavier weights with fewer repetitions. Muscle endurance is increasing best by performing repetitions with lighter weight. To elicit improvements on both muscular strength and endurance, the latest public health guidelines recommend the following: performing 8 to 10 exercises that target the major muscle groups of the body. 8 to 10 exercises. So it doesn't necessarily nga pag ato nimo sa gym resistance training ka, tanang muscle imong i-targeton, no? Targeton ko na ko front quads, ugma, dayon human ani targeton ako biceps, dayon kuan ani triceps, din extensor. Dili. At 8 to 10. So 8 to 10 targeting large muscle groups. So imo na siyang i-divide ay mga exercise. So kung 8 ka exercises, so karon okay. Madto ko akong targeton ang chest, targeton akong biceps. So chest 1, biceps or arms ako 1 2 na siya nga kay biceps ug triceps. So pilan to 3 na. Then may gluteus Lubot, abs, pila na to? 5. May quads, 6. Hams, 7. Gastroc, 8. Wala na. Ana lang isa. Diba? So, ina na lang. So, using resistance that elicit moderate to high effort from 10 to 15 repetitions, moderate intensity. Effort rate is 5 to 6 out of 10, where no effort is 0 and maximal effort is 10. And high intensity effort rate is 7 to 8 for older patients. So, this is in age 15 to 64 with clinically significant chronic conditions or functional limitations that affect exercise. Exercising for strength gains on 2 or 3 non-consecutive days per week. So inana siya. So ang imong strength magsugod ka karon, makita nimo mugawas ang imuhang strength gain is about 2 or 3 on the third session sa exercise. Manotice na nimo nga mugaan na ang imuhang pag aswat anang bugat. Or even in aerobic mo, gyapon na siya. So, sa first session, medyo maglisod ka. Second, adapt na ka. Pagka third, matingala ka, okay na, kaya na nako ang full 4 minute nga 7 kilometers per hour na speed sa treadmill. No? So, na-imagine na nako, na-experience na nako na. During this break, I spend my time dito sa gym, about mga 30 minutes a day. Not really every day, no? Na mga times nga kuan, but at least 3 times a week yun, no? My first try, naglisod ko og even 6 kilometers per hour, then continuous ko for 4 minutes nga run, or jog, maglisod ko. But as of now, ay makaya na nako ang 6 minutes, no? Mahuman na nako siya ang 4 minutes, no? Nga interval. Or 4 minutes nga duration. No? So, hinana sa treadmill. But of course, if you let me jog around, makaya na ko na siya in medyo dugay. But in treadmill, it requires good balance, higher ability. So you need to have your good balance, so pag yun, coordinations, no? And isa pa, flexibility kay simply motorized mo gud ang nagahatag sa imo sa feedback, no? So kung dili na siya develop medyo pan, so of kung okay na ka sa treadmill, much more kung ibutang ka sa flat nga surface, no? Then flexibility exercise. So in flexibility exercise, limited flexibility is commonly seen in advancing age, often leads to impaired musculoskeletal function. So we could see this a lot in patients, no, nga na ay mga tigulang, no? Limited ang length flexibility. When they turn their head to the left, ang tibok lawas ang magkuyog. So, kailangan including ko nun siya. So, we incorporate this in our aerobic exercise. So, that's why we have stretching exercise before and after, no? During warm up, na siya integration sa stretching, or during cool down, dito na siya nabutang. So, asa may mas maayo og na-stretching. So, mas gina-advise nga mag-stretch ka before, but not necessarily nga, no, mag-stretching ka, after naka-warm up ka, mag-stretch ka gamay, kadjut lang. No? Kaya kung masubrahan mo stretch, ma-weak mo po ang muscle. So, mo-relax na siya, dugay siya mo-respond sa imuhang exercise. So, kamay lang, iguro siya nga mainat siya ang imuhang kwan, ma-prepare lang siya. But basically, ang pinaka-kwan nga stretching is after sa conditioning exercise, no? During the cool down, dito ka mag-stretch og dagan. Okay, so these exercises should be performed in a slow, controlled manner with gradual progression to greater ranges of motion as follows. So begin with warm-up activities to elevate muscle temperature. Perform slow static muscle stretch for all major joints, paying particular attention to those who have reduced range of motion. Stretch each joint to the end of each range of motion to the point of tightness, avoiding discomfort that will elicit protective activation of the muscles. So pain-free range ang pag-stretch, no? So dili kay inaton nimo niya mag-ingon kay no dili. You always ask your patients, you can feel the stretch. Pag ingon niyo yes, okay na na siya. Ay na pa sobra ay nga mag-aragay na siya. No? Uh, hold each stretch for at least 15 to 30 seconds. Mo gina siya, no? Para ma-attain ang maximum benefits sa stretching or flexibility exercise. 15 to 30. So it's not 10 seconds hold. It's 15 seconds hold. So mga stretching. But of course, kinaanad mo tag 10. So, pero 15 to 30 gig. Okay? Repeat each stretch 2 to 4 times. Perform the stretching routine at least 2 to 3 times a day, preferably 5 to 7 days a week. So, if your parents now are experiencing, so inyo siyang ipator ng ilang head, left, right, niya medyo stiff na, magsugod na siya, ipa-flexibility exercise na ninyo. Okay, maabot ang panahon, nga matingala na lang mo, maglingi inyong papa sa inyo, apil na ang lawas. Okay, so that's all. Thank you for listening and God bless and Happy New Year.